Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's just watch this then. The system changes. Okay. There was an image here that I clicked on, but I haven't looked at it. So let's see. So running tackles no longer exist. Forward into hold forward makes you run. What? Oh, okay. I see. So it's instant. I'm guessing then. I'm not going to listen to what he says. I'm too lazy. So running tackles no longer existing. Let's just start with that. That's interesting. Because running tackles have been a thing in Tekken forever. And running tackles aren't that difficult to break. I wonder what they're going to be replaced with then. Because he means tackle, right? Not shoulder charge. Oh, he means shoulder charge.
By being too far away. Because in Tekken 7, if you're far away enough from your
opponent... Oh, yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, okay. No, I think that's a good change. Because shoulder tackle is fucking stupid. An armored running move that's plus on block, that lets you just go, oh, hold forward, and you can't, there's like no counterplay to it at all. Yeah, this is a good change. Instant while running seems to be 2 taps instead of 3 now, I guess. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. Because that's why I was thinking for a second. But I don't think it's that. I imagine forward into hold forward makes you run so you don't have to triple tap forward from long range. But if you want to do like Dragunov instant while running 2, for example, you still have to do an instant while running input. Because if you do forward, just think about this logically. There are moves that are on forward, and there are moves on forward. So if you have to, if holding forward puts you in run, if they make it so that you start running too fast, then it's going to be like you have to be able to do a forward move. Like if you do Kunimitsu's forward 2, for instance, that means you would have to be frame perfect, or else you would get running 4, right? If they made it so that the window for running was too big or too small. You know what I'm trying to say. Like, if holding forward makes you run too quickly, then doing forward wouldn't feel natural. So probably what it is if you press forward, and then you go out of the window where pressing forward will have you do like a forward or something, and then you stop running, then that'll mean you start running. But if you want to do instant while running, that input's still the same. And it doesn't affect anything off of like input buffer as well, because you can't input buffer forward. What forward. So at a high level, this changes absolutely nothing. Yeah, I mean, you can see it right here, right? Like here's the forward input, and then you hold forward and he starts running. So it's like after the dash that you do from forward, if you hold it, then you start running. So it takes a while. But if you do instant while running, you'll start running faster. So wall bounces no longer exist. So they did it as a thing in Tekken 7. They were like, and then they got rid of it. I mean, Tekken 8 has double wall splat, which is pretty much what wall bounce is anyway. So that makes sense. That's not very surprising.
Get up kicks no longer knock you down, even on counter hits. This is a huge...
That's interesting. Huh. So you don't get combo off of like face down, feet toward, low wake up kick anymore? That's interesting. I think that's a good change. I wonder then if it's still going to be like -12 on block, or if they'll be safe. Because it means that you can still use them as a defensive option, but you can't really use them as an offensive option. It's an interesting one for sure. What does he have to say about it? Yeah, that would normally give you a combo. That's an interesting change. I think I like that though. Using wake up kicks purely for defense and not for offense, I think makes a lot of sense. I think that's good.
This one is a massive change.
God, I love Xiao's design. I'm sorry. I love this design so much.
Magic 4s no longer launch on counter hit.
Wow.
Huge change. Magic 4s have
wow. But orbitals are still fine. Magic 4s no longer launching is you know, maybe that's why. Because maybe characters Magic 4 still launch, but maybe think about Lily's and Lydia's. Lily's and Lydia's both require you to do another high to actually be able to get the launch, right? So maybe there are going to be characters in the game that aren't here that do have Magic 4s that launch, but you have to do that high extension. So if you're wrong and they duck the high, then you get launched, just like, again, how it is with Lily and Lydia. Considering Lydia's obviously a Tekken 8 character as well, that would make a lot of sense. Maybe. It's still weird though to me that they're like, oh yeah, Magic 4 is bad, but Orbital's good. It's also weird too because Magic 4 is like a really strong defensive tool. But then again, like if you think about it, King's Back 1-2 got nerfed as well. That you have to commit to be able to counter hit launch, so it's interesting.
But this will definitely force a player to play more aggressive and actually encourage them to play more aggressive. You're no longer scared of getting hit by
that's not true because there are a bunch of characters that don't have Magic 4, so you don't play aggressive. Before Lily had a Magic 4, did you play her hyper aggressively? No. I mean, not having a Magic 4, like you only play more aggressively if you don't have Magic 4 if you're bad at the game. I'm sorry, but it's true. Like, Magic 4, a lot of the time, is a crutch when you have someone who's trying to play defensively, but they're not a very good defensive player. And if you get too obvious with Magic 4s, then you can duck them and then launch the opponent. And then most of them aren't homing as well, like Jin and Elisa's are obviously, but most of them aren't, so you can also step them. So Magic 4 is very much a crutch for defensive play. So it just means that you have to be better at your defensive play, I think. But saying that it means you're going to play more aggressive is just wrong.
Now this one is going to shock you. It might actually make you laugh as well.
I'm ready, because it's going to be like, this is in Soul Calibur, right?
Because it made me laugh. Right, here we go. Rage arts are now minus 13. Yes, you heard it.
You know, I was right. I mean, this is how it is in Soul Calibur. Critical Edge is in Soul Calibur minus 16. So most characters can't launch punish them. Some of them are safe. Siegfried, I'm looking at you. Oh, that's really weird though. Rage arts being only minus 13. I think that's a bad change, right? Because like the problem is, yeah, there's no rage drives in the game anymore, but that's exactly the problem. If rage arts are the only thing that you have access to in Rage, like they're already going to be used too much because basically whenever you get a combo, you just go and use Rage because why wouldn't you? But now the fact that they're only minus 13 means you can just throw them out. Unless they're like not armored anymore or something. Like how it is in Soul Calibur, if you use it and you get hit out of it, then you lose your Rage. Then that would make sense. But if they're still armored, this makes no sense. Yeah, the difference is yeah, exactly. C's have no armor and they still cost a meter if you get hit out of it. So yeah, if it really comes down to, if they're still armored, this makes absolutely no sense. If they're not armored, then I think this makes sense. That's really what it is. Which, like I said, is really shit because look how long that these take. It's gonna slow the game down so much. The rage arts themselves are 13 seconds and then the startup is at least 3. So like 16 seconds per round for one character. If both players use rage art, then like half of the round is just rage art animations. And then you like consider an entire game, like an entire game might, like 2 of those rounds might be composed of just rage arts, essentially. That would be terrible.
No longer knock you down on hit.
Interesting. So again, something that you use purely for defense, but not for offense. Which means also that you never do this against Yoshi, because then Yoshi just flash punishes you, and what do you get out of it? Absolutely nothing.
Low parries no longer give combo extenders like Tailspin unless you use the Heat Burst.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Yeah, I think that's good. It's kind of then similar to previous Tekken games where it wouldn't like give you a combo, but depending on the move, you would be able to get a certain punish off of it. Kind of like how the level GI system in Soul Calibur works, right? And I can't remember what Tekken it was that they changed that. It was Tag 2 or 7. But then it was just like full combo and you can do so much damage if you're in Rage. In a lot of ways, it's nice, but in some ways like that, it doesn't make any sense that you get so much damage. So I think this is a good middle ground.
Already knew, but chip damage now exists in Tekken.
Right, we know that. To be fair though, chip damage has always existed in Tekken. It's just always been defaulted to off in the options.
Now, one thing you might not have known though, is that when you're in Rage, that chip damage is much, much less.
So it's like guts. It's just guts for chip damage. General system similarities.
The movement feels very similar to Tekken 7. Like, honestly, if
yeah, you know, wait, where you're on. God damn it, you had one fucking job. Okay, it depends on how much they tested. Because the problem I have with Tekken 7's movement isn't necessarily like the movement, but the inconsistencies. Like, for example, I'm gonna boot up Tekken real quick. So, like, I already don't like that stuff like this launches, right? Like, I feel like that just launches like this shouldn't be able to track sidestep so much, right? But the problem is that, yeah, here it is. So you can see that if I'm like not right in Jack's face and I try sidestepping right, down forward 2 is just homing straight up, right? I sidestep left, I sidestep right. If I block Jack's 2 and then he does down forward 2, it's basically tracking, except for that instance for some reason. But if I'm right in Jack's face and I try sidestepping right, then it's fine. Now I can step it sometimes. I can at least sidewalk it, right, if I'm right in his face. But if I'm back here, okay, that time it worked, but that time it didn't. That's the problem I have with Tekken 7's movement. If that is more consistent across the board in Tekken 8, and it might be because they're redoing the moves and stuff, and the animations and their hitboxes and their hurtboxes, then I'd be fine with it. That'd be cool, right? But the problem is that because of how Tekken 7's movement is, it creates all these weird inconsistencies that aren't just about like the direction that you sidestep, but the range also matters for some reason on the move where the range shouldn't matter because it's a full launcher, so why would it? And then on top of that, it still doesn't fucking matter because sometimes you'll get launched by it, sometimes you won't. If you sidestep it in a way at the exact same range, I mean, I was restarting, you know? Like I was just restarting here, and sometimes I just sidewalked this, sometimes I didn't. There's no reason for it. Like there, I'm restarting at the exact same range. There's no difference in where I am. It just sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There's no reason for it. It's literally random. It has there's no like actual skill around me sidestepping that move or not. It is a pure roll of the dice. That's what I want fixed. If movement feels the same in Tekken 8, again, fine. But just as long as those inconsistencies are fixed. That's my biggest problem with Tekken 7 movement.
For a full wall carry and save your...
It's literally Soul Calibur double wall bound or double wall splat. It's literally the same fucking thing. But no one plays Soul Calibur. Yes, we get it. Double wall splat. Yes, I've been playing this game for the past 5 fucking years. I get it.
An important detail about heat engages though is that they're only gonna put you into heat if the moves hit.
Yeah.
Heat burst is the other way you can...
See, that's the problem that I had with it, is it's like there's no actual counterplay if they just throw out the move. That's my issue with this. I think that if they throw out the move and they want to go in the heat and it whiffs, they should still go in the heat. I think the fact that there's very little counterplay to this mechanic and it just allows you to basically throw out these moves for free with no consequence is really dumb.
Heat Burst is a Tekken 6 bound type move, which puts the player into heat at a slight advantage on block and hit. The difference here is that
it's fucking Soul Attack! Just say it!
Entering heat with Heat Engager gives +2 heat energy, and entering with Heat Burst gives +1 heat energy.
So it just makes me wonder why you would ever enter it with Heat Burst and not Heat Engager.
10 seconds, but stops depleting while you're
I don't see why you would ever essentially do the Soul Attack to go into heat.
So get used to it and get ready to make some sick combos.
Get used to it. Yeah, that's what they said about Reversal Edge as well. And then look how they walk that back. Yeah, I imagine they're gonna do it. Cause Heat just seems like, Heat and Rage seems like it's in a terrible spot. Where it's like the Rage... Because it's only -13 on block, still don't know if it has armor still or not, but because it's only -13 on block, you're just going to be seeing it constantly, and it's going to slow down the game so much. People are going to complain about it. And then with Heat as well, not having any counterplay to Heat, it feels a lot like Reversal Edge. You know, it feels a lot like Reversal Edge, where essentially you just hit a button, and then unhit or block is just like, the game stops. Only in this case, it's whoever hits the Heat Engager button, the game is just all about them now. To clarify here, I'm trying to say that all of the heat engages and heat dash moves are essentially one button that does basically everything you could ever want in the move, in the same way that reverse ledge did everything that you want in a move. It's basically unblockable, turns any situation into your favor, beats pretty much any option, and has very little counterplay, and just stops the pace of the game entirely in its tracks, and everything kind of revolves around this one mechanic. I feel like that's going to get changed. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It automatically puts the player into heat? Oh, that's shit. So if I don't want to go into heat, but I also want to do like Death Fist, then I don't get a choice, right? If I want to throw out Death Fist as like a whiff punish or something, but I don't want to go into heat for one reason or another, I don't get a try. I just have to go in the heat. I have to use my heat right there. That's shit.
Can be very
yeah, so like if I want to use Neo's armor move here, because I need to use an armor move for some reason, I'm forced to go in the heat even if I don't want to. That's really stupid. And also the fact you get this once every round as well. Yeah, this is going to get changed. That's 5 moves you just can't use. I hate that. Yeah, that's really stupid. Yeah, a lot of these like systems, I feel like I'm gonna really have to get changed, because it just doesn't make any sense if I want to do Nina's armor move for forward 1+2 because I want to use an armor move that I'm forced to go in the heat if it hits. That, and it also doesn't make any sense that if I'm playing defensively and I bait out someone's heat move or their armor move or whatever, and they want to go in the heat off of it, if I play good defense, I literally can't bait out heat because it only activates on hit. That's so dumb. I'm assuming it'll be like Brave Edge, that would only make sense. That's what I'm assuming too, but based on how they've described it, I feel like it's not going to be it. Anyway, that's that.